But let me introduce our guest for tonight, Dr. Haris Dervišević, from the University of Sarajevo. Haris Dervišević is the head of the chair of history of art at the University of Sarajevo, as previously mentioned, in Bosnia and Herzegovina. He also teaches at the Faculty of Architecture at the University of Sarajevo and interior design studies at, well, I apologize for the bad pronunciation, Zemal Bjedić University in Mostar, also in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And Dervišević's research focuses on Islamic art in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and his work has been published in scientific and popular journals, daily, weekly, and online magazines. He's a member of the International Council of Monuments and Sites, the famous ICOMOS, Historians of Islamic Art Association, and he is a member of the Council of the Congress of Bosniak Intellectuals. So tonight, Dr. Dervišević is going to talk about the non-Islamic art in Bosnia and Herzegovina during the Ottoman period. So thank you very much for being with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for this kind introduction, and thank you. It is really honored to be the part of this wonderful project, and also welcomed all the participants of the workshop. As it is previously mentioned, my name is Haris Dervišević, and the focus of my research is Islamic art in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and to be specific, my focus of research is Islamic art of the Ottoman period in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Previously, I did research about calligraphy and art of the carpets in the Bosnia and Herzegovina. So tonight, I'm going to talk with you to give the lecture, to have the presentation about this one specific topic, non-Ottoman, non-Islamic art during this period. I'll ask you for just a second to start the presentation. Does not respond to my when I press share screen. Okay, here. Okay, it's okay now. Oh, do you see the screen? Okay, here we go. I see my lectures usually at university as dialogue between the students and myself. And if you have any questions during my presentation, please interrupt, ask me, and please do not wait to the end. So, non-Islamic art in Bosnia and Herzegovina during the Ottoman period. This is my topic, the title of today's lecture. And let's start with this. When we usually talk about Bosnia and Herzegovina during the Ottoman period, especially because I'm an art historian, we only think about Islamic art. And at its peak of the Ottoman period in Bosnia and Herzegovina, these are the borders of the Bosnia and Herzegovina, and in that days it was called Eyalet of Bosnia, and these are the peripheries of the borders of Bosnia during the 17th and 18th century. And as you can see, there are the most famous cities, the Sarajevo, Mostar, Tesha, Magla, and the others. And in these cities, you can find the Ottoman mosque, the Ottoman heritage, and these are. I'm going to show you a few examples of these. The mosques, the very known in the surveys of Ottoman architectural history. Ferhadia Mosque in Banja Luka. It was built by the Ferhat Pasha, Sokolov Ferhat Pasha, from the noble, very prominent Bosnian family. he was a relative with the famous Ottoman Grand Vizier Sokol Mehmed Pasha. And also, if we go to the south, to the city of Počitel, you can find very beautiful, and I suggest you to visit this city, the city of Počitel, and see this extraordinary example of Ottoman architecture, Ottoman mosques from the middle of the 16th century. As you can see, when we talk about Ottoman period in Bosnia, we usually talk about Islamic art, Islamic heritage, and we cannot forget the extraordinary example, the very known Karađorđe or Karađorđe Mosque in Mostar. It was designed by one of the greatest architects of the Islamic history. It is the Mimar Sinan, and besides he also designed a very known bridge in Visegrad that is on UNESCO list of the World Heritage. And also near the Mostar is Sufi Lodge or Tekke that was established in the late 15th century, early 16th century, but this edifice, this building dates from the middle of 19th century. And in the most surveys of Ottoman architecture, you cannot miss the old bridge in Mostar. It is really the one of the most beautiful bridges in the whole Ottoman architectural history. So what I'm showing you today is when we talk about Bosnia from the 15th to the late 19th century, I don't know if you know that the Ottomans came in the middle of the 15th century, and the Bosnia was the part of the Ottoman Empire till the 1878. But what else we can find beside the architecture? The Bosnia is well known after its goldsmiths, blacksmiths, and here is very nice bracelet that is now kept in the Österreichisches Museum für angewandte Kunst in Vienna. And it shows the possibilities of goldsmiths in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And there are the sources, the document that shows that the Bosnian goldsmiths had their part in the Istanbul. And here is another example of the possibilities of works of art that were done in Sarajevo, most probably in Sarajevo. That is the Yatagan short sword. It is some kind of jewelry that it is the sword, but in the 19th century, we know that the men wore the yatagan, the swords, like part of their jewelry they put on the front, to show that they are the part of noble families. And one of my favorite examples of the possibilities, the works of art that were produced during the Ottoman period in Bosnia, is this short sword that is now placed in the Wallace collection in London. And these are only a few examples with the thousands of them that we can put the name enabled the Islamic art, the part of Islamic heritage. But what about the cultural heritage of the non-Muslims in Bosnia? During my lectures on university, I'm trying to show to students that in Bosnia, during the Ottoman period, we have four very good, per se, in the same time, four different cultures here. The one is Islamic, the another one is Orthodox Christian, as we call it, post-Byzantine art and culture. And also we have the Catholic Christian with when we talk about the art, it is with some examples of the Baroque art here. And the last one that I'm going to talk with you today and present you is the Jewish art in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We will start now the chapter, say the part of to talk about what is European Jerusalem. And here we are in Sarajevo. It is the panorama of the city. And when you search to the Google, you can find numerous journal titles with the name Sarajevo is European Jerusalem, Jewish Muslim coexistence in Sarajevo, or discover why Sarajevo is called European Jerusalem. Why is that, and why Sarajevo is given this name? Let's go to the old town, the oldest part of the Ottoman Sarajevo. It is the name of this part of the town is Başçarşı. During the Ottoman period, it was the cultural center of the city, and also the cultural center of the Bosnia. Also, it was the educational center because there are numerous madrasas or schools. And also it was religious center because I will show you later on the mosques that you can find in this specific part of the town. But let's go back. Why Sarajevo is called European Jerusalem? In the center of the Başçarşı, the old town of the Sarajevo, the main mosque is called Gazi Husrev Bey Mosque, built in the 1531. 50 meters to the north, you will find old Orthodox church that dates back to the early 16th century. And on the southern part of this Başçarşı, there was Madonna Chapel. We don't have any archaeological evidence where we can find this Madonna Chapel, but regarding to the services, we know that it was on the southern part of this old town in Sarajevo. As you see here on this map, we have the three temples or three religious buildings, but we miss something. We miss a synagogue or Jewish temple. And this is the reason why Sarajevo is called European Jerusalem. It was in the very center of the old town, the center of the trade, the education. You could find the four main religious buildings of four Abraham traditions. In Sarajevo, let's talk how did they come in Bosnia and Sarajevo. And I hope you know that the story of expulsion of Jews from Iberian Peninsula from the 12th, 13th, 14th century, and when the Christian kings came to power to the part that was called Al-Andalus, or the Muslim territories there. The Jews had very bad times. To say one of the historical moments that they went through was massacre of Jews in Barcelona in 1391. This is the piece of art from the early 20th century from one Spanish artist that shows one of the examples of massacres that Jews went through, and they were given the choice to convert or leave. The historians came to different numbers, but we can say that thousands of Jews converted to Christianity, but those who did not, they left the Al-Andalus or left Spain. And as you can see on this map, the migration of the Jews from the Spain to different parts of the world. And one also, to give you the tip, the Jews that lived in Spain, they were called Sephards or Sephardic Jews. Because in Hebrew, Sephard means something on the west. Because Jews that lived in the Spain, they lived in the western part of the Jewish world. So the Sephardic immigration started from the late 15th century and was going on through the 16th century. In each of these cities that you can see on this map, you will find the traces of the Jewish migration. And the earliest evidence of the Sephard that settled in Sarajevo is in the year 1565, in one of the Ottoman sources that is now kept in the Gazi Bey Library in Sarajevo. You will find that they got permission. They first asked and got permission to live in Sarajevo. Not to forget, there are few sources that show that some Jewish traders were earlier before this year, in some around 1540s, 1550s in Sarajevo. But if you are searching for the first citizens, Jewish citizens in Sarajevo, this is the year. From this year, Jews are the part of the Bosnian and also the Sarajevo culture. So let's go back as I to Baščaršija, or the old town in Sarajevo. These red cycles are 5 mosques in the very center of Baščaršija, and 4 of them are with the domes, and another one of the south was the square roof. And as I earlier mentioned, this was a religious center of Sarajevo and also Bosnia, but also the center of the trade. Why is that? Because in this part, the Sarajevo is one of the few Ottoman cities with the numerous khans, and khan is the building dedicated to the reserve for the trade. So when the Jews came, they were given the place in this very center of the old town, in the center of the religious and the political, cultural of Bosnia and Herzegovina, to live. And they were welcome because this Ottoman Sultan Bayezid II issued a document to his governors in the European part of the Ottoman Empire to warmly welcome Jewish migrants from the Spain or Andalus. So they were given this. This is the model of the 16th century Sarajevo, or in the late 18th century Sarajevo. And it is, after this, if you analyze this construction, it is a typical Ottoman city. And here, very near to the center of the trade, the center of the religious building, the mosques, the khans, the everything else, the Jews were given the place, the khan, to live. And it was named after Siyavush Pasha. It is the Ottoman governor in the European part, and he built the khan for Jews to live. So what is the meaning of this? They were not given some part of the town on the edge. They were given the part, and they were welcome in the very center of the city. And when you go and read about history of Jews in Sarajevo, you cannot see that they were living in the ghetto. And in the Jewish documents, the documents of the Sarajevo Jews, it is stated that the door of this place was always open. And after these Ottoman documents, it is we can see that there were about 60 families that will welcome this part. So this is the part where we're going to talk about art history and architectural history. We will start from Jewish architecture. And this is the old synagogue. And as I told you, we saw this model from the 16th century Sarajevo. Next to the Siyavush Pasha Han, Jews were given the place to build their synagogue, to build their temple. And today, this synagogue is the part of Sarajevo Museum, and you can visit it. It is a museum dedicated to the history of Jews in Bosnia and Herzegovina and also Sarajevo. It is not used today as a synagogue, but as the place where you can learn about culture and history of the Jews. And what is, I know that some of you are not very don't know a lot about the art history or architecture. I'll give you just a few words about its style. And because, as I said, the Ottoman documents say that the building of it was built in the 1581, but it went through few reconstructions, and the one that we see it today is from the early 19th century. These are the main dates that we have to know about the old synagogue in Sarajevo. The first one is 1581, that work began. And it is believed that that first synagogue looked like the late 14th or 15th century synagogues that you can still find in Portugal or Spain. And they had this basilica or longitudinal plan that more resembles to the church architecture than the Moorish one. And because it was in the center of the Sarajevo during the Ottoman period, it was damaged a few times. The biggest damages were during the 1697 and 1788 by fire. And after each this damage, it was reconstructed. And the biggest reconstructions were in the late 18th century, as it is here on the slide, in the 1794 and 1813. And it was abandoned in the late 19th century because the Jews made their new temples in Sarajevo. And when you enter the building, you can see non-typical Islamic architecture, but you will find the impact of the say Central European, or also the heritage from the Spain. We still don't have the good research, the good paper about this synagogue. But as we can see from the inside, it had the nave, the central nave, the aisles. It had the galleries for the women, and also not forget the heritage of Jews. The artistic heritage of Jews in Bosnia and Herzegovina and Sarajevo is very rich. On the slopes of the Dervišević mountain, you will find the Jewish cemetery, and it is now the biggest Sephardic cemetery in Europe. What is also we know from the archaeological research, archaeological excavations, that the first tombstones they date from the beginning of the 19th century, but we believe that this cemetery was used also before the 19th century. What is the type of these tombstones is very rare to find. some historians compare the style of these tombstones to the Bosnian Middle-Age tombstones that are called stečci. And historians came to conclusion that Jews wanted to be, they saw the Bosnia as their homeland. And I will here show you one extraordinary example. This is the tombstone or monument of Zeki Efendi Rafaelović. He was a member of Sephardic family, noble family in Sarajevo. He went in the Ottoman high school, Ruždije, in 19th century, and also went to Istanbul searching for the education. And when the Austro-Hungarian Empire came to and occupied Bosnia, he was one of the best translators from the Ottoman Turkish to Bosnian and other languages. Why choose his tombstone? It is because this is the only tombstone, as I know, that is written in the 3 different languages. And I will go back to show you. This is the one. On one side, you can find the inscription in Bosnian language. On other 2 sides, you will find the inscription in Hebrew and also in Ottoman Turkish language. It is recently renovated, but it showed that the Jews in Sarajevo saw their city of the few centuries as the part of their heritage, as the part of their that Ottoman Islamic heritage is their also own heritage. And I guess that you all, the few of you were waiting to mention this piece of art, or piece of the Jewish culture. It is the Sarajevo Haggadah. We are now going to National Museum of Bosnia and Herzegovina. And I suggest you to visit the webpage of the National Museum Bosnia Zemaljski Muzej, where you can further search through the history and culture of Bosnia and Herzegovina. And also through this search, you will find Sarajevo Haggadah. In the first sentence on the site, it is written, our site. If we were to pick the biggest, brightest gems from the treasure trove of material and intangible heritage kept in National Museum of Bosnia and Herzegovina, there is no way we could leave out the illuminated Jewish codex known around the world as the Sarajevo Haggadah. So today's Sarajevo Haggadah is placed in a special room in museum, with the security stuff and with all these security gadgets, because it is one of the very rare Jewish manuscripts produced and still in that could be found in the world from the late 14th century. I had only one opportunity to see the Sarajevo Haggadah with very close and to turn the pages. I have to say, okay, we have here one. There is a question. As I told you before, if you don't mind, I will ask you. I will answer at the end, Aida. Sorry, just to finish, because we are almost at the end of the presentation. Okay, this is the one in the Sarajevo Haggadah. Why it is known? What is the Haggadah? Haggadah is the Jewish book that gives the story about the history of Jews and is read in the special ceremonies, in the family cycle. And this one in Sarajevo, it was written on the parchment with very good calligraphy, very good illumination. And we believe that it was produced in Barcelona around the middle of the 14th century. And it was the wedding gift when the two members of the Shoshan family and Elazar family married. Why we guess this? Because on the one of the pages, as I stated, you will find the symbols of a rose and symbol of the wind. In Hebrew, Shoshan is the name for the rose, and the wing is El-Azar. So it is believed that the members of these two families married, and the Sarajevo Haggadah was the gift to them. And art historians also try to find they believe that some of the miniatures, the paintings in the manuscripts looked like the Barcelona during the Middle Ages. And what is also extraordinary about Sarajevo, and special about Sarajevo Haggadah, it is we know that the prohibition of painting the figures in Jewish religion, Judaism, and Sarajevo Haggadah shows that in its miniatures, you will find numerous figures that in the story of creation, the world, and other stories, but with explicit painting of the say, human beings. And the story of Sarajevo Haggadah went through the hard times when the Nazis came to power and when Nazis came to Sarajevo. And what happened? Sarajevo Haggadah was the part that it was kept in the National Museum. And one Nazi general heard about this story. Its importance to the Jews. He knocked the door, came to the National Museum, and asked the Dervišević, as you can see here. He was working in National Museum. To give him this, who was in that time working and searching. I'm sorry, I have this. Do you hear me? I just want to. Okay, continue. Dervišević was the member of the noble family, Muslim family from the central Bosnia. And when he was asked by the Nazi general to pass to give the Haggadah, there was sometimes not a joke, but his answer was, "I already gave the Haggadah to another general that came before you." Of course, Dervišević lied, and he hid. After that, he hid the Sarajevo Haggadah in one mosque around the Sarajevo mountains. So when the Second World War ended, the Haggadah came back to the National Museum. And this is the end of our presentation, but also one interesting story, one interesting part of the Jewish impact of the Bosnian tradition. I will now cite read this title in Bosnian. It is Kad ja pođo na Bembašu, or when I went down the Bembaša. What is Bembaša? Bembaša is the part of the Sarajevo where the river Miljacka enters the town, and it was very nice part of the town with very beautiful nature. And there is a song that with the name When I Went Down to Bembasha. It is a love poem, love song. The Muslim guy that he's singing a song about his love. When I went down to Bembasha to the water, I brought with me a little lamb. Little lamb I brought with me. All the girls from Bembasha stood there on the gate. Just my sweetheart stood on her high window. And I will have to say that a lot of Bosnians don't know the real story, the background of this song, because say that the way it is sing, it resembles, and it is really a Sephardic song with the name Mi querido, mi amado, or my love, my desire. So the Bosnians use the melody of this Mi querido, mi amado, and put also they use it for this Sephardic love song, but they give the different words, and it is now the part of the Bosnian heritage. As we can see, the way how did the Ottoman Islamic heritage influence the Jewish community, but also Jews did really big impact on the Bosnian tradition. And on the end, I suggest you, if you want to hear this song in the modern version, I suggest you to go to YouTube and see the performance of Attila Aksoy and the wonderful Tijana Basic performing Mi querido, mi amado, the Sephardic song. And thank you very much to all of you. And as I promised, I will only speak about 30 minutes. Now we are ready to the questions, and I'll try to okay, stop my presentation. And that's not all, folks. I that you enjoyed the presentation, and I would introduce you to the Jewish and what is non-Islamic heritage in Bosnia.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dervišević. It was really illuminating, and definitely I didn't know any of these aspects, so it was really fantastic to listen to you, and now I'm definitely very much more curious to visit Sarajevo. I was very much before, but now I am even more, so I will just start planning when to come.
Thank you very much.
That was really, really beautiful.
We have here, I read also the question before.
Yeah, I will read it for the audience because I don't know if they can see it. So from Aida, are there other cities worldwide where the Sephardic Jews migrated to show such a large or even larger heritage in the landscape like in Sarajevo? And if not, why is Jewish culture so present in Sarajevo if they migrated in so many places outside Spain?
I have to say that the focus of my research is Islamic art and the Ottoman culture during the Bosnia. So I'm not very good familiar with the Jewish tradition, but when I talk with my students, when I have the lectures about Islamic and Ottoman culture, I try to struggle to show them that in Bosnia during these 4 centuries of the Ottoman period, it is a mixture of cultures. So as I want to try to answer your question, the Jews migrated to the other parts of the Europe, and you can also find the numerous papers about that, about the Jews in the Central Europe, the Jews Jewish in the Netherlands, and also the famous Baroque painter Rembrandt. He did numerous paintings of Jewish families in the Netherlands in that days. So I think that there is also the one book from the 60s, 70s where is mentioned Sarajevo synagogue. The book is the name Architecture of European Synagogues. So if you research further on, you will find numerous papers, numerous researchers. Also, a friend of mine, Alexandra. Sorry, I'm fasting, so I sorry. The friend of mine, she did research and PhD about Sarajevo Haggadah. That is one of the last about the Sarajevo Haggadah. And I think why is Sarajevo important when we talk about other parts is this what I from the beginning, the Sarajevo is really European Jerusalem, even that I don't know that title because I never was in Jerusalem, but for my reading, I know that there are some parts only dedicated to the Jews, to the Christian part, the Orthodox, but in Sarajevo, Jews were living not only in this old town, but they also had houses in other parts of the town. So also when there are the numerous stories, how did the Muslims fought for the rights of the Jews in Sarajevo, when also the Sultan forbid Jews to wear some kind the clothes, but that was not ruled in Sarajevo because they were part of this, say, the city. So this is, I hope that I try to answer your question.
Thank you very much. I would like to, okay, so from Aline, I would like to know if outside of strictly religious heritage, there are traces left of non-Islamic housing building from Ottoman times.
Okay, first when I thank you for this opportunity to present this heritage. I was thinking to give you the whole survey of non-Islamic art and architecture in Bosnia. It meant post-Byzantine Orthodox heritage, and also the Baroque paintings that you can find in Bosnia, and also the Franciscan monasteries in Bosnia that were built during the Ottoman time. And I suggest you to go to the page of National Commission to Preserve National Monuments in Bosnia, where you can find the basic information about these, say, non-Islamic housing buildings from the Bosnia. And what is, as I have the time, before the Ottomans and after the Ottomans, Bosnia and Sarajevo and other parts were always multicultural, multi-regional cities. So even in my family, I have the members of the two other religious traditions, and also this mirrors their housing culture, the architecture of the houses, the edifices. Where in the parts of the Bosnia where the Franciscans had their bigger impact, you can find these non-Islamic housing traditions, and also the part of the just one tip. One Ottoman Grand Vizier, Sokol Mehmed Pasha, he gave special position of the Serbian Orthodox Church in the second part of the 16th century. From that time, you will find really numerous churches, Orthodox churches that were built in Bosnia. So I was thinking to give you also a presentation, but I shorted this presentation. I just want to give you, when I talk about one heritage, we have many layers. So this the Jewish part is only one thing. So that is.
Thank you very much. I wonder if someone else has a question from the audience. While you think about it or you type it, I would just like to add two things. One, on your presentation, that I think you really gave a kind of also the different layers of materiality of heritage. So from buildings to smaller objects to even immaterial heritage like songs. So and you highlighted the fact that even like the locals do not know that they are singing on music that is a Jewish one. So I think in any context from where we are, even those contexts where sometimes the purity of or isolation or oneness of the culture is advocated or is promoted, this usually is kind of impossible.
Sorry, I have to add one interesting thing for Sarajevo. My grandma, she had one tradition when she wanted to one wish come true. There is one tradition in Sarajevo. You lit the candle in the Franciscan monastery, then go to the one special turbe in Sarajevo and pray. She was very pious, Muslim woman, but she first went to the Franciscan monastery, light the candle, then go to the turbe with the name of 7 brothers. She read the Fatiha there, recited the Fatiha, and then went to Orthodox Church and let another candle for the wish come true. So this is one tradition, and she never thought about, is that the part of her tradition, or is it non-Islamic tradition, or is she lesser Muslim to do these things? But that was the part of tradition that is connecting the people, and even also the Orthodox members of the Sarajevo did the same thing. So that is very, what we are talking when we talk about one specific culture. We cannot see it from only one point of view. There are many layers, there are many. So even when we think about this song, you can find in different occasions, Bosnians are singing it, not knowing that it's the part of, it was influenced by the Sephardic tradition.
Right. Even on music, when you were mentioning the escape after the Reconquista of Sephardic Jews, and of course, meanwhile, also the Muslims were escaping through the same routes, actually. So you still have big portions of, for example, Morocco, that still have relevant communities of Jews as well. So perhaps this can somehow go back to the first question, because it was the closest place. The crossing of Gibraltar was the closest place where to go, and then many people continued somewhere else. But during the Reconquista, I was reading, so like we all know that, for example, the chanson, the French tradition of music and like Middle-Age music and poetry, actually was something that came with the Reconquista, with many artists from the Andalusian kingdom being captured by the Christian monarchies, and the French were allied with the Aragons, and then they were literally exported and were used to produce their art for other kingdoms. And now we think that is French heritage, but then if you go back and study the music itself, it comes from partitions that come from the Andalusian tradition.
What is my way of thinking? Only culture or society that is open to the others can go on. So that is some kind of conclusion. If you close all the doors, you will only stay with yourself. But with learning the tradition of the others, you also learn about yourself. The other is your mirror. You use that, say, their experience, from their experience. So you feel the gap when you, something that you missed before. So that is why I need to meet the others to wait of how this all, when I said that they were given very center of the town, they were not given some kind of the edge of the town. So they lived in the very center of the Sarajevo. So that is when we, that is why we have to learn and research about other cultures, other experiences. So that is.
Absolutely, absolutely. I do agree, and I think that there is perhaps, maybe we are now at the very beginning of, I hope, a different way of approaching history that is about connections and how exchanges have brought to each places an enrichment. So even by thinking about the book that you have shown, it's something very like symbolic of this. A book about a tradition, everyday traditions, etc. So rather than focusing on this very specific form or use is the product of a very specific culture, perhaps there is nothing as such, but there is like the cooperation of humanity that at certain points meet and produce something together. So there is one kind of fun story I was reading about the Ottoman Empire negotiating to have two Jewish ladies back in the 16th century. They were like two Jewish ladies that escaped from Portugal and that then settled in Venice for almost all their lives. And at a certain point, because of the pressure from the Vatican state back then, they started considering moving to the Ottoman Empire, and there was a very thick negotiation between the Kingdom of Venice and the Ottomans, so to at least keep one of the two in Venice, because otherwise she would export also all her wealth and all her stuff.
Yes. When I was in Cordoba before a few years ago, I just came to conclusion that only cathedral in the whole world that is named the mosque is Cordoba, because it is called Mezquita, that means the mosque. So it was very strange to hear it from the local people when you ask me where is the cathedral. Okay, Mezquita is there. So it is how the heritage and tradition is like a fluid. So it cannot be given in some kind of the specific place. And when you think you can give the borders of the states, the one on to the others. Also, the story about how did Sarajevo Haggadah came. Most probably one of the answers that first the Sephardic Jews came to Italy, and they were there to the end of the 17th century and brought the Sarajevo Haggadah. We don't know when, but they brought Sarajevo Haggadah in Sarajevo. And first mentioning in the sources, Haggadah in Sarajevo is from the late 19th century. So even it is not produced in Sarajevo, in Bosnia, that is the part of our heritage, and we are connected. As I also gave the example how Derviš Korkut fought to save it, because it was the question of life and death, because he said to the Nazi general, okay, we don't have here Haggadah, and it was kept in it was kept during the Second World War in one of the mosques on the periphery to be on the safe place. When the war ended, they gave back Haggadah. So almost there are a lot of stories how does heritage or was influenced. I forget, but on the beginning of your question, I came to one interesting thing. I found one Ottoman service from the Ottoman period. It is the late 18th century in Sarajevo. One of the Sarajevo mosques was in very bad conditions, and there were chosen two Orthodox mason workers to reconstruct the mosque. So if you today, if you ask someone not from the non-Islamic world to reconstruct the one, everyone would ask, why are you choosing non-Muslims to reconstruct the mosque? But it was not in the late 18th century Sarajevo. So also we have the name of these masons. We have to work together we have all seen the problems, but to me the cultures, today's Jewish family in Sarajevo and Bosnia is very small, but I'm not very don't know about the what is going that on, because I'm very focused on the Islamic tradition, but I'm trying through my research to show all these connections with Islamic tradition in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Thank you. That was really, really super interesting. If I may, I will close just with one final question about the Jewish heritage now in Sarajevo. How is it perceived locally? Is it something that is even perceived, and is it valued, and who cares, who takes care of it?
There is there is a Jewish community well organized, even if it's small, and we have some council of religious societies, and I don't know what is the right name in English, and it has very good connections with all four Abraham traditions. Time to time, they are making the exhibitions about Sephardic tradition. Also, another tip. When the Austro-Hungarian came in the late 19th century, another Jews came from the Central Europe, and they were not the Sephards, they were Ashkenazi. Their tradition is more connected with this Central European heritage, and they built their temple on the left bank of the Sarajevo River Migatska. But also, one interesting thing, during my studies, I had lectures in Arabic language. One of my professors was Nada Bojanic. She was a Jew lady, a very kind one, and she was very fluent in Arabic. And that is how there's also one story, with funny story, because she was one of my first professors in Arabic language. And one of the first papers that we had to translate from Arabic in Bosnia, because we were used to that every text in Arabic is Quran, it is a very sacred text. I started with Bismillah and started to translate, but it was the funny story about Nasruddin Hoxha. It was not the part of anything else. So this is that is when you learning about, that is interesting. I was learning about Arabic language by a Jewish professor. So that is also the part how the tradition and also the culture connect.
Thank you. That was
thank you all.
Cherry on top. Really, thank you very much. It was amazing to have you as a fantastic ending of our lecture series. You will have soon all the series uploaded on Kuma International YouTube channel. Thank you very, very much. I look forward for knowing more and hoping to see you in Sarajevo, perhaps, or in Palestine.
Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to be the part of this project.
Thank you so much. And thanks to all the audience. See you.
See you. Bye.